Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Healing Light. He watched the blue and green planet grow bigger on the main screen. The planet was called Kepler 442b, and it was in serious trouble. The healing light was huge. It stretched almost 2 kilometers from front to back. The ship was white, with big red crosses painted on its sides. Everyone in space knew what those symbols meant. They meant this was a hospital ship, a ship that helped people and saved lives. Jake had been captain of the Healing Light for 3 years now. He was a tall man with brown hair and kind eyes. He loved his job because it meant helping people across the galaxy. Today, they were racing to help human colonists who were hurt and dying. "Captain, we are getting emergency calls from the planet," said Lieutenant Amy Watson. She was sitting at the communication station. Amy was young, but very good at her job. She had blonde hair and always spoke clearly. "What are they saying?" Jake asked. "The volcanoes are exploding everywhere. The colonists are hurt badly. Many people are trapped under rocks and ash. Their hospitals cannot help everyone." Jake looked worried. He had seen disasters before, but this sounded very bad. The colonists had built cities on this planet 5 years ago. They thought the volcanoes were sleeping. They were wrong. "Dr. Martinez, are your teams ready?" Jake asked. Dr. Elena Martinez was the chief doctor on the ship. She was a small woman with dark hair and smart eyes. She had worked on hospital ships for 15 years. She knew how to save lives when things were very bad. "All medical areas are ready, Captain," Elena said. She looked at her computer tablet. "We have doctors and nurses standing by. We have enough medicine and supplies to help several thousand people. The emergency shuttles are loaded with medical equipment." The Healing Light had 20 medical levels. Each level had operating rooms, emergency rooms, and recovery areas. The ship carried the best medical equipment that humans had ever made. It could regrow lost arms and legs. It could fix damaged brains. It could save people at other hospitals. Could not help Dot as they got closer to the planet. The ship's computers showed them how bad things were. Entire cities were buried under hot ash. The heat sensors showed thousands of people trapped in collapsed buildings. Many were badly hurt. "Look at this," said Lieutenant Ben Clark from the scanning station. Ben was a quiet man who was very good with computers. "The main city of New Denver is completely covered. The hospital there is destroyed. They have no power and no clean water." Jake felt his heart sink. New Denver had 50,000 people living there. If their hospital was gone, thousands of people would die without help. "Begin shuttle operations," Jake ordered. "Send the first wave of medical teams to the surface immediately." The Healing Light had 30 medical shuttles. Each shuttle could carry 20 doctors and nurses, plus tons of medical supplies. They could land anywhere and set up emergency hospitals in minutes. "Captain," Amy said, "I need to send our medical protection codes to everyone in the area." "Do it," Jake said. Amy pressed buttons on her station. The ship began sending out signals on all radio frequencies. The signals told everyone that the Healing Light was a medical ship protected by the Galactic Medical Neutrality Accords. These were ancient laws that protected hospital ships and medical workers. No one was allowed to attack them ever. The red crosses on the ship's hull were not just paint. They were made of special metal that showed up clearly on every type of scanner. Even from far away, any ship could see that the Healing Light was there to help, not to fight. Dr. Martinez came to the bridge. "Captain, we are ready to receive patients. The trauma centers are prepared for burn victims, people with broken bones, and those with breathing problems from the ash." Jake nodded. "How many people can we treat at once?" "We can handle 5,000 patients right now," Elena said. "If we push Hard, maybe 8,000, but we will need to work fast. The first shuttle launched from the ship's bay. Commander Rick Barnes was leading the mission. Rick was a pilot who had flown medical missions for 10 years. He was brave and skilled at getting into dangerous places. Healing light. This is Medical One. Rick's voice came through the speakers. We can see the damage from up here. It looks like hell down there. Jake watched the shuttle on the screen as it flew toward the planet. Behind it, 5 more shuttles were getting ready to launch. The colonists are sending coordinates for the worst areas, Amy reported. There are children trapped in a school. A hospital is on fire. The main power plant exploded and hurt hundreds of workers. Jake felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. All these people were counting on his ship and his crew. The healing light was their only hope. Tell all departments to prepare. For continuous operations, Jake ordered. We might be here for weeks. The ship's medical bays came alive with activity. Doctors and nurses put on their emergency gear. Medical robots checked equipment. The surgical rooms were cleaned and prepared not far away. Hidden in the shadow of a large gas giant, 3 dark ships watched the healing light begin its rescue mission. These ships had no medical crosses on their hulls. They had weapons instead. The crews inside were not thinking about saving lives. They were thinking about taking what they wanted. The commander of the lead ship was called Zixth. He was not human. He was a Vorthan, a race that looked like large lizards. Zixth had watched the human hospital ship with cold, calculating eyes. The humans are predictable, he said to his crew. They always come to help. They always follow their rules. Today, their rules will not save them. But Jake Morrison and his crew knew nothing about the danger watching them. They were focused on their mission. They were there to save lives, and nothing else mattered. Commander Rick Barnes was flying his medical shuttle toward the planet's surface when the first explosion hit the healing light. The blast was so bright, it lit up space like a second sun. Rick felt his shuttle shake from the shock wave. What the hell was that? Rick shouted into his radio. On the bridge of the healing light, alarms were screaming everywhere. Red lights flashed on every wall. Captain Jake Morrison watched in horror as 3 strange ships appeared from nowhere. They had been hiding, waiting for the perfect moment to attack. The ships were long and dark, shaped like sharp blades. They had no medical symbols on them. Instead, they had weapons. Lots of weapons. And all of those weapons were pointed at the healing light. Emergency message to Earth Command now. Jake yelled at Lieutenant Amy Watson. Tell them we are under attack. Amy's hands shook as she worked at her station. Captain, these are Vorthan ships. They are firing on us. Jake could not believe what he was seeing. The Vorthans were attacking a hospital ship. This had never happened before in the history of space travel. It was against every law that existed. More explosions hit the ship. The healing light had shields, but they were weak. They were only meant to protect against space rocks and radiation. They were not meant to stop military weapons. Shield failure on decks 7 through 12. Someone shouted. Dr. Elena Martinez's voice came through the speakers from the medical levels. She sounded scared and angry. Captain, Medical Bay 7 is gone. Medical Bay 8 is on fire. We have lost hundreds of patients and staff. The surgical units are destroyed. Jake felt sick. The Vorthans were not just attacking his ship. They were murdering hurt people. People who could not fight back. People who were lying in hospital beds. The healing light shook again as more weapons hit it. The ship was not built for war. It was built to save lives. It had no weapons to fight back with. It could only try to protect the people inside. Incoming transmission from the attacking ships, Amy said. Her voice was shaking. Put it on screen, Jake ordered. The main screens changed to show the inside of the Vorthan command ship. A large creature appeared. It looked like a lizard that walked on two legs. It had yellow eyes and sharp teeth. This was War Commander Zixth H. Human vessel, Zixth said in a cold voice. You will surrender right now. We will take your medical supplies and technology. Your wounded people will become test subjects for our biological weapons. Jake felt anger burning inside him. You are breaking the medical neutrality accords. These are hurt civilians. You cannot do this. Zixth made a sound that might have been laughter. Your human laws mean nothing to us. We take what we need. We do what we want. Another blast hit the ship. This time, Jake felt the floor shake under his feet. The lights went out for a moment, then came back on. Hull breach on deck 15. Someone reported, "We are losing air." Jake looked at his crew. They were all scared, but they were still doing their jobs. Amy was sending emergency messages to Earth. Ben was trying to keep the ship's systems working. Everyone was fighting to save the people on board. All shuttles returned to the ship immediately. Jake ordered into his radio, but it was too late for some of them. Rick Barnes watched from his shuttle as another medical shuttle was hit by weapons fire. The shuttle exploded, killing all 20 doctors and nurses inside. No, Rick screamed. He knew those people. They were his friends. They had families waiting for them back on Earth. Down on the planet, the human colonists watched the battle in the sky. They could see the flashes of weapons fire. They could see pieces of the healing light falling toward the planet like burning stars. The hospital ship is dying, said Mayor Linda Foster from New Denver. She was watching through binoculars from the emergency command center. Without them, we cannot save our people. Back on the healing light, the crew was fighting for their lives. The ship's computer systems were failing. The medical equipment was being destroyed. A carefully organized hospital was becoming a death trap. Captain, Elena's voice came through the speakers again. We are moving patients to the emergency shelters, but we do not have enough life support for everyone. Jake made a hard decision. Evacuate all non-essential personnel to the escape pods. Medical staff stays with the patients. Sir, that means the medical staff will probably die, Amy said quietly. No, Jake replied, but they took an oath to help people. They will not abandon their patients now. The Vorthans kept firing. They were not trying to capture the ship anymore. They were trying to completely destroy it. Zixth wanted to send a message to all humans. He wanted them to know that the Vorthans would take what they wanted and kill anyone who got in their way. Emergency power failing, Ben reported. Life support is down to 30%. Jake looked around his bridge. Half of the control stations were broken. Smoke was coming from damaged computers. But his crew was still there, still fighting. Amy, can you still send messages to Earth? He asked. Yes, Captain. The long-range communication system is still working. Jake took a deep breath. He knew this would probably be his last message home. Send this to Earth Command. They attacked a hospital ship. They killed doctors and patients. They broke every law of civilized space. God help us all. The message went out across space toward Earth. It would take hours to reach home. By then, the healing light would be gone. Another explosion shook the ship. This one was different. It was bigger and came from inside the ship. The main power core was failing. All hands abandon ship, Jake ordered. This is not a drill. But even as he gave the order, Jake knew that many people would not make it. The Vorthans were still firing at the escape pods. They were trying to kill everyone. Dr. Martinez stayed in the medical bay with her patients. She held the hand of a young girl who was scared and hurt. It will be okay, she whispered. The doctors on Earth will remember us. They will make sure this never happens again. The healing light broke apart slowly. The great hospital ship that had saved thousands of lives was dying. The red crosses on its hull were melting from the heat of the weapon's fire. Zixt watched the destruction with satisfaction. "Record this," he told his crew. "Send the recording to every species in the galaxy. Show them what happens when they oppose the Vorthan Empire." The recording would indeed be sent across the galaxy. Every civilized species would see it. They would see a hospital ship being destroyed. They would see doctors and patients being murdered. But Zixt H made a mistake. He thought the recording would make other species afraid of the Vorthans. He thought it would make them weak and easy to conquer. He was wrong. The recording would make them angry. Especially the humans. As the last pieces of the healing light fell toward the planet, Jake Morrison's final message was racing toward Earth. Soon, every human in the galaxy would know what had happened, and they would not forgive. Admiral Lisa Stone stood in the war room, deep inside Terra Command. The room was filled with screens showing star maps, ship positions, and battle reports. But today, everyone was looking at one screen that showed the smoking remains of the healing light. Lisa was a tough woman with gray hair and scars on her hands from her years as a fighter pilot. She had been in the Space Navy for 30 years. She had seen wars and battles, but she had never seen anything like this. "Give me the final numbers," she said to Colonel Danny Hayes. Danny was the head of military intelligence. He was a thin man with glasses who knew everything about every enemy species. Today, his face was pale and angry. "Complete destruction of the healing light," Danny reported. "All 3,847 crew members dead. All 1,200 patients dead." The Vorthans recorded the entire attack and sent it to every species in the galaxy. The room went completely quiet. Everyone knew what this meant. In 300 years of human space travel, no one had ever attacked a hospital ship. The red crosses were supposed to be sacred. They were supposed to mean safety and help. "The president has been briefed," said General Karen Brooks from the Army. Karen was a big woman with short red hair. She looked like she wanted to punch something. "He has signed Executive Order 7749. We are authorized to use any means necessary to respond to this war crime." Lisa nodded slowly. She had been waiting for this order. "Then we invoke the Prometheus Protocol. Danny, send the activation codes to every fleet commander in human space. I want every warship, every battle group, every combat vessel we have ever built to come to Earth within 72 hours. Danny stared at her. "Admiral, that is over 12,000 ships. The fuel costs alone would bankrupt half our colonies." "I do not care," Lisa said. Her voice was cold and hard. "They want to see what happens when you attack defenseless people? We will show them. We will show the entire galaxy." The message went out on the highest priority channels. Every human military base received the same order. Return to Earth immediately. Bring every ship that can fly and every weapon that can fire. Captain Ben Carter was loading cargo on his ship Prairie Wind when the message came through. Ben was not a military man. He hauled supplies between colonies and made enough money to support his family. But his grandfather had been a medic in the old Earth Wars. "They attacked a hospital ship," Ben said to his crew. "They killed doctors. They killed patients. That is not war. That is murder." Ben's crew looked at him. They were just cargo haulers. They were not soldiers. "What do you want to do about it?" asked his engineer, a woman named Kate Murphy. "We are going to Earth," Ben said. "We are going to volunteer for whatever Admiral Stone is planning. My ship can carry missiles. We can fight." All across human space, the same conversation was happening. On mining ships and passenger liners, on research vessels and luxury yachts, humans were making the same decision. They were going to Earth. Within 24 hours, space around Earth looked like a metal city. Warships hung in formation next to cargo haulers. Destroyers floated beside cruise ships. Even small private yachts were there, their owners determined to help. The shipyards around Earth worked non-stop. They were turning civilian ships into weapons of war. Cargo holds were filled with missiles. Passenger areas were turned into barracks for soldiers. Even the luxury yachts were getting laser cannons mounted on their hulls. Dr. Susan Price was one of the doctors volunteering to go on the mission. She had worked with Dr. Martinez before. They had been friends. "I want to go," she told the recruitment officer. "Elena was my friend. I want to help make sure this never happens again." "Doctor, this is a military operation," the officer said. "There will be fighting. People will die." "People already died," Susan replied. "Good people. People who are trying to help. I am going." Admiral Stone stood on the bridge of the super dreadnought, humanity's wrath. It was the biggest warship humans had ever built. From its bridge, she could see the massive fleet assembling around Earth. "Final count, Admiral," reported Captain Joe Allen, her second in command. 12,347 vessels, military and civilian combined. Lisa looked out at the fleet. She had never seen so many ships in one place. There were battleships that could destroy planets. There were tiny fighters that could slip through any defense. There were hospital ships ready to treat wounded soldiers. There were supply ships carrying enough ammunition to fight for years. "What about the Vorthan response?" she asked. "They are mobilizing their own fleet," Danny reported. "About 4,000 ships. They seem confident they can handle us." Lisa smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "They have no idea what they have done. They think this is just another space battle. They do not understand that they have made every human in the galaxy angry." The truth was, this was not just about revenge. This was about sending a message to every species in the galaxy. The message was simple. You can fight human soldiers. You can attack human colonies, but you do not touch human medical ships. You do not kill human doctors. You do not murder human patients. "Admiral," said Communications Officer Lieutenant Mary Davis, "we are getting volunteers from other species too. The Centauri are sending a medical support fleet. The Taosetians are offering to supply our ships with fuel." This surprised Lisa. She had not expected help from aliens. "Why are they helping us?" "Because they understand what the Vorthans did," Mary explained. "Every species has hospital ships. Every species has doctors. If the Vorthans can attack our medical ships, they can attack anyone's medical ships." Lisa nodded. This was bigger than just humans versus Vorthans. This was about the basic rules that kept civilization working. The rules that said some things were sacred. The rules that said some people were always protected. "Set course for the Vorthan home system," Lisa ordered. "All ships maintain formation. We go in together, and we finish this together." The massive fleet began to move. 12,000 ships turning toward the same destination. It was the largest military force in human history. Maybe the largest military force in galactic history. As they entered hyperspace, Lisa sent a message to the fleet. It was broadcast to every ship, military and civilian. "Citizens of humanity," she began. "Today we travel to the Vorthan home system. We go not for conquest. We go not for territory. We go to ensure that no species ever again attacks a hospital ship. We go to protect the doctors and nurses who risk their lives to save others. We go to honor the memory of Captain Jake Morrison and Dr. Elena Martinez and all the brave people who died on the healing light." The message continued. "The Vorthans think they can break the most basic laws of civilization. They think they can murder healers and face no consequences. Today, we prove them wrong. Today, we show the galaxy that humanity will go to any length to protect those who cannot protect themselves. In the cargo hold of the Prairie Wind, Ben Carter listened to the Admiral's words. Around him, his crew was checking the missiles they had loaded. They were not soldiers, but they were ready to fight. For the doctors, Ben said quietly. For the doctors, his crew repeated. Across the fleet, the same words were being spoken. In the fighter squadrons and the battleship gun turrets, in the medical bays and the supply ships, humans were preparing for the biggest battle of their lives. The Vorthans had made a terrible mistake. They had attacked the wrong ship. They had killed the wrong people. They had broken the wrong law. Now they were going to face the consequences. The Vorthan High Command had been watching human communications since the attack on the healing light. They expected the usual response: angry speeches, diplomatic protests, and trade sanctions. What they saw instead made their blood run cold. Supreme War Leader Krext stood in the war room of the Vorthan capital city. He was the most powerful military leader in the Vorthan Empire. He had conquered 17 different species and destroyed countless enemy fleets. But today he was afraid. "Tell me again," he said to his intelligence chief, a smaller Vorthan named Vexif. "How many human ships are coming?" "Over 12,000 vessels, Supreme Leader," Vext H replied. His voice was shaking. "But they are not all military ships. They have turned their entire civilian fleet into weapons of war." Krexif looked at the tactical display. It showed the huge human fleet moving toward Vorthan space. The display was almost solid with ship markers. He had never seen anything like it. "This is impossible," Krext said. "No species commits every ship they have to a single battle. It would leave their entire territory defenseless." "The humans do not seem to care about defense right now," Vext A explained. "They have cargo ships carrying antimatter torpedoes. They have passenger ships with heavy laser cannons. They have mining vessels loaded with military personnel. They have even turned luxury yachts into missile boats." Krext Etch felt his hands shaking. In all his years of military service, he had never faced an enemy like this. Most species fought carefully. They protected their home worlds. They kept reserve fleets for defense. The humans were doing none of these things. "What about their colonies?" Krext H asked. "Surely they kept some ships to protect their settlements." "No, Supreme Leader. Our spies report that human colonies are being defended by automated weapons and civilian volunteers. They have pulled every combat-capable ship to join this fleet." This was not how civilized warfare worked. There were rules. There were limits. You did not risk everything on a single battle. But the humans were not following any rules. "How long until they reach our space?" Krext demanded. 18 hours, Supreme Leader. "And sir, they are not following standard fleet formations. They are spread across a front that is 3 light years wide. Our defense systems cannot track them all." Meanwhile, on the bridge of humanity's wrath, Admiral Lisa Stone was meeting with her commanders. The human fleet had been organized into specialized groups, each with a specific job to do. "Captain Lara Nash," Lisa said to a young woman with dark hair, "your stealth ships will take out their early warning satellites. We need to be on top of them before they can fully organize their defenses." Lavra nodded. She commanded 50 of humanity's newest stealth frigates. These ships were invisible to most sensors and could strike without warning. "Major Pete Collins," Lisa continued, addressing a tough-looking man in Army uniform, "your marine transports will capture their orbital defense platforms. We need those guns pointed at the planet, not at us." Pete Collins had 20,000 Marines on his ships. They were the best fighters humanity had. They were also very angry about what had happened to the healing light. "What about their main fleet?" asked Captain Sarah Wilson, who commanded a group of battleships. We handle them the old-fashioned way, Lisa replied. We shoot them until they stop moving. But this was not just about military tactics. The humans had studied everything about Vorthan society. They knew how Vorthans thought, how they fought, and what scared them most. Remember, Lisa told her commanders, we are not just fighting a battle. We are sending a message. Every species in the galaxy is watching. They need to see what happens when you attack a hospital ship. The plan was simple but massive. The humans would hit the Vorthans from every direction at once. They would use their superior numbers to overwhelm the enemy defenses. They would not stop until the Vorthan government surrendered completely. What about Vorthan civilians? Asked Dr. Susan Price. She was the senior medical officer for the fleet. Do we protect them? We protect everyone who needs protection, Lisa said firmly. That is what makes us different from the Vorthans. We do not kill innocent people. As the human fleet approached Vorthan space, their sensors detected the enemy preparations. The Vorthans had assembled their own fleet near their home planet. It was a strong force, nearly 4,000 ships, including some of the most advanced warships in the galaxy. They are forming a defensive line around their home world, reported the sensor officer. Standard military formation. They expect us to attack their fleet directly, Lisa smiled. They still do not understand. This is not a standard military operation. Show them what 12,000 angry humans can do. The human fleet began to spread out even more. Instead of attacking in a single formation, they were surrounding the entire Vorthan system. The Vorthans would have to fight in every direction at once. On the cargo ship Prairie Wind, Captain Ben Carter was checking his weapons one more time. His ship was not built for war, but his crew had worked hard to make it dangerous. They had missiles, laser cannons, and even some old-fashioned explosive charges. Are you scared? Asked his engineer, Kate Murphy. Terrified, Ben admitted. But I keep thinking about those doctors on the healing light. They were just trying to help people. They did not deserve to die. Kate nodded. My sister is a nurse. She works on a hospital ship near the Centauri colonies. What if the Vorthans attack her ship next? This was what the Vorthans did not understand. They thought they were just attacking one human ship, but they had attacked the idea that some people should always be safe. They had attacked the idea that healers should never be hurt. All ships, prepare for battle, Lisa's voice came over the communication system. We are about to show the galaxy why you never attack a hospital ship. The Vorthan fleet was ready and waiting. Their ships were newer and more advanced than most human vessels. Their weapons were more powerful. Their armor was stronger. Under normal circumstances, they would have been confident of victory. But these were not normal circumstances. The Vorthans were facing an enemy that did not care about losses. They were facing an enemy that had come to make a point, not to conquer. Territory. Human fleet approaching, reported the Vorthan sensor operator. They are not following standard attack patterns. They are coming from everywhere at once. Supreme War Leader Krexith watched the tactical display with growing horror. The human ships were not acting like a military force. They were acting like a swarm of angry insects. They were attacking from above, below, and all sides. Focus fire on their capital ships, Krext H ordered. Take out their command structure. But the humans had learned from the young. Attack on the healing light. They had spread their command structure across hundreds of ships. There was no single target that would cripple their fleet. Supreme Leader, Vexith said quietly, I think we made a mistake when we attacked their hospital ship. Krexith looked at the display again. 12,000 human ships were bearing down on his forces. Behind them, the rest of human civilization was watching and waiting. Yes, Krext said. I think we did. The Battle of Vorthan Prime lasted exactly 47 minutes. It was the shortest and most decisive battle in galactic history. The Vorthan defensive fleet had prepared for a normal space battle. They had formed neat lines of ships with their most powerful vessels in front. They had planned to use their superior technology to defeat the human fleet piece by piece. They were completely wrong about what they were facing. Captain Sue Morgan was flying a converted mining ship called Earth Mover. Her ship was not built for war, but it had something the Vorthans had never seen before: industrial plasma cutters designed to slice through asteroids. "This is for Dr. Martinez and all the nurses they murdered," Sue said as she guided her ship toward a Vorthan battleship. The Earth Mover's plasma cutters were meant to cut through rock and metal in mining operations. Against the Vorthan ship's armor, they worked like a hot knife through butter. The enemy battleship was cut in half in seconds. All around the battle area, similar scenes were playing out. The humans were not fighting like a regular military force. They were using every tool, every weapon, and every trick they could think of. A luxury yacht called Star Princess used its high-speed engines to dart between Vorthan ships, firing missiles at close range. A cargo hauler named Big Mike rammed straight into an enemy cruiser, destroying both ships but taking out a much more valuable target. The Vorthans had never seen anything like it. Their military training had taught them to fight other professional armies. They had no idea how to fight against an entire civilization that had turned itself into a weapon. "They are not following any battle plan," reported the Vorthan tactical officer. "They are just attacking everything at once." Supreme War Leader Krexith watched his fleet being torn apart by ships that should not have been able to fight at all. "How is a passenger liner destroying our heavy cruiser?" "They removed all the passenger cabins and filled the ship with missiles," his intelligence officer explained. "They are using the ship's sensors, which are designed to navigate through asteroid fields, to target our vessels with incredible accuracy." The humans had turned their entire merchant fleet into an improvised war machine. Every ship type was being used in ways the Vorthans had never imagined. Scientific research vessels were using their advanced sensors to coordinate attacks. Hospital ships were treating wounded fighters and sending them back into battle. Even small personal yachts were carrying special forces teams to board enemy vessels. Admiral Lisa Stone watched the battle from the bridge of humanity's wrath. Her flagship was leading the main attack against the Vorthan command ship. But she was also thinking about something else. "Captain Torres," she said to her medical officer, "take your medical teams down to the planet. Start treating any Vorthan civilians who were hurt in the fighting." Captain Maria Torres looked surprised. "Admiral, we are in the middle of a battle. Should we not focus on our own wounded first?" "Captain, we are here to make a point about what happens when you attack medical personnel. The best way to make that point is to show them how medical personnel are supposed to be treated." This was what made the human response so powerful. They were not just fighting to win a battle. They were fighting to prove that some things were sacred. They were fighting to show that healers should always be protected. As human medical teams landed on the Vorthan home world, they began treating injured civilians. These were the same people whose government had ordered the attack on the healing light. But the human doctors and nurses did not care about politics. They cared about saving lives. Dr. Susan Price was one of the first doctors to reach the planet's surface. She found a Vorthan child who had been hurt when debris from the space battle crashed into the city. "It is okay," Susan said gently as she treated the child's injuries. "I am a doctor. I am here to help you." The child's parents watched in amazement. They had been told that humans were violent and cruel, but this human was risking her life to save their child during a battle. Meanwhile, the space battle was reaching its end. The Vorthan fleet was broken and scattered. Their most powerful ships were destroyed or disabled. Their command structure was in chaos. "Supreme Leader," Vexith reported, "we have lost 70% of our fleet. The remaining ships are requesting Permission to surrender. Krexif looked at the tactical display. It showed the smoking remains of his once proud fleet. The humans had destroyed them not through superior technology, but through sheer determination and numbers. Open a channel to the human admiral, Krexith ordered. Admiral Stone's face appeared on the Vorthan command ship's main screen. Her expression was hard and cold. Supreme War Leader, she said, I am Admiral Lisa Stone of the human fleet. You will surrender immediately and unconditionally. Krext H felt the weight of total defeat. Admiral Stone, we surrender. We accept full responsibility for the attack on your hospital ship. You will do more than surrender, Lisa replied. You are going to help us make sure this never happens again to any species, anywhere in the galaxy. Within hours, Vorthan government officials were signing documents that would change galactic law forever. The new Geneva Accords expanded the protection of medical ships and medical personnel. Any species that attacked a hospital ship would face the combined military might of all civilized worlds. But Admiral Stone was not finished. She had a bigger plan. We are establishing permanent medical stations in every major star system, she announced to the assembled representatives from dozens of species who had come to witness the aftermath of the battle. Any world, any species that needs medical help can call on these stations, and they will be protected by the full power of the human fleet. The message was clear to everyone in the galaxy. Humanity would travel anywhere to help those who needed medical care. But if anyone attacked those healers, they would face the same fate as the Vorthans. The news of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than light. Every species heard the same story. The humans had brought 12,000 ships to avenge. A single hospital ship. They had turned their entire civilization into a weapon to protect their doctors and nurses. Captain Ben Carter was back on his cargo ship Prairie Wind, but now it was permanently assigned to escort duty for hospital ships. His crew had volunteered to spend the rest of their careers protecting medical vessels. Do you think it was worth it? Asked his engineer Kate Murphy. All those ships, all that cost, just to make a point? Ben looked at the new hospital ship they were escorting. It was called the Healing Light II, built to replace the ship that had been destroyed. This one was even bigger and more advanced than the original. Kate, look at that ship, Ben said. See those red crosses on the hull? Every species in the galaxy knows what those symbols mean now. They know that if they attack a ship with those symbols, humanity will bring everything it has to stop them. Kate nodded. So no one will ever attack a hospital ship again. That is the idea, Ben replied. And if someone is stupid enough to try, we will be ready. 6 months after the battle, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Healing Light II. He had survived the destruction of the original ship and had been given command of the new one. The ship was responding to a distress call from a colony that had been hit by a plague. Captain, said Lieutenant Amy Watson, who had also survived and stayed with the medical service, we are receiving a transmission from a Vorthan merchant ship. They are requesting medical assistance for their crew. Jake looked at the main screen. The Vorthan ship was small and clearly not military. Its crew was probably just trying to make a living, like cargo haulers anywhere in the galaxy. Send them our coordinates, Jake ordered. Tell them we will treat their crew members free of charge. Amy looked surprised. Sir, they are Vorthans. Their government attacked the original Healing Light. Their government did, Jake replied. But these people are just sick and need help. That is what we do. We help people. This was the real victory of the human response. They had not just won a battle. They had proven that some things were more important than war. They had shown that protecting healers was worth any cost. Dr. Elena Martinez had died on the original Healing Light, but her replacement, Dr. Robert Kim, carried on her work. He was treating patients in the ship's main medical bay when the Vorthan Crew members arrived. "Doctor," said one of the Vorthan patients, "why are you helping us? Our people killed your friends." Dr. Kim looked at the alien patient with kind eyes. "Because that is what doctors do. We help people who need help. It does not matter what species you are or what your government has done. If you are sick or hurt, we will try to heal you." The Vorthan patient was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I think I understand now why your people fought so hard to protect ships like this." Back on Earth, Admiral Lisa Stone was in her office, reading reports from hospital ships across the galaxy. The new protection system was working perfectly. No one had attacked a medical ship since the Battle of Vorthan Prime. "Admiral," said her aide, "there is a delegation here to see you. They are from the Kepler 442 colony." Lisa looked up. That was the colony the original healing light had been trying to help when it was attacked. "Send them in," she said. A group of colonists entered her office. They were led by Mayor Linda Foster, who had survived the volcanic disaster. "Admiral Stone," Mayor Foster said, "we,